Thank you very much. I welcome members to the first meeting in 2013 of the Subordinate Legislation Committee. Wish everybody a Happy New Year. As always, ask members to switch off mobile phones, please. Item 1 on the agenda is a decision on taking business in private. It's proposed the committee takes item 6 in private. This is consideration of the approach to the committee's annual report in the parliamentary year 2012-13. Our members agreed to take that item in private, please. Thank you very much. It takes us to agenda item 2, instruments subject to affirmative procedure, and we begin with the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act 1974, Exclusions and Exceptions, Scotland Order 2013 draft. Paragraph 11 of Schedule 1 to the order is defectively drafted, and that it appears to allow the disclosure of spent convictions in proceedings taken by way of appeal or review against a decision taken by virtue of this order on consideration of a spent alternative to prosecution. However, no decisions can in fact be taken by virtue of this order on consideration of a spent alternative to prosecution. The drafting of the provision is therefore defective in this respect. Does the committee therefore agree to draw the instrument to the attention of the Parliament on reporting ground I, as it is defectively drafted? I do. Thank you. The Scottish Government proposes to correct this drafting error at the next available legislative opportunity. Therefore, rather than withdrawing the instrument and submitting a correct version for approval, the Scottish Government seek the agreement of the Parliament to approve the instrument, including this error. Whilst the committee may not consider this ideal, particularly since this order is a consolidation, and so should start off from a position of not requiring amendment, the committee might be prepared to accept this, given that the inherent defect should give rise to no adverse legal effects. Do members have any comments on the matter? John?
I must say I'm disappointed that this consolidation document has been brought forward and is inadequate from the outset in the presentation we have in front of us. From my understanding of it, it would not be impossibly difficult to have made this a good piece of work rather than a piece of work that we have in front of us. It has inherent errors, and as a general principle, and it is really the point of principle here, that if we as a committee are proposing that we should, more and more consolidation should be done, I think in terms of the end user of that consolidation process, it would be sensible if the consolidated product on its arrival were fit for purpose.
Stuart.
In relation to consolidation, I, like John, think that consolidation as such is not normally something with a timescale attached to it, and therefore, in this case, as it appears, it would be relatively straightforward to remedy the defect. It should certainly be looked at. However, there is the addition to this essentially consolidation instrument, some new policy initiatives, and I think it would be appropriate if the policy committee, when they're looking at this, satisfy themselves that that the new policy that's in there is what's driving the necessity for this to be done now, rather than to wait what appears to be a matter of a few weeks to actually correct it and resubmit it. And I would certainly prefer, if possible, that it be withdrawn and resubmitted.
Yes, I would agree with that, because I think end of the day, ministers need to be armed with the correct information, and particularly when it comes to users wanting to use the information, I think it's important that it's correct. But I think also I'm beginning to get a little anxious about the time frame that these things take. If an error has been picked up, it really needs to be dealt with swiftly, and this allowing time to pass is unacceptable, I think. I think people need to deal with these things more swiftly, and they should come to us with the corrections in place, so we don't have this ping-pong effect of comings and goings. We need to be more effective, and we need to be more focused on how we're doing this. So perhaps the corrections could have come, and we could have dealt with it today.
Well, indeed, I think it's fair to say that the corrections could have come. Members may wish to note that there are, in fact, a number of errors in the original legislation, which have unfortunately just been rolled forward in the consolidation. So we've consolidated a number of errors. That suggests that the checking process really wasn't as good as it should have been, notwithstanding the amendments that the government are trying to make. Clearly it undermines the purpose of consolidation if this approach were to be repeated in the future. Am I right in thinking, therefore, that what the committee is asking us to do is to report this to the lead committee, on the basis that we think it really should be got right, but we might also write to the government indicating that there seems to be a process fault here, and indicating that it would be sensible, in our view, if they were to change their system so that they do at least not consolidate errors in the future, and do the checking that is necessary.
Thank you, Chair. I think that would be helpful. But I think more importantly, I would be keen for you to receive a response back from them, assuring you and through you us that in fact this will happen, and what systems are going to be put in place to ensure that there's no repetition of this.
Yeah.
I think, Camino, you made two proposals, that there should be an interaction with the government, I support, but also that the lead policy committee be made aware of our concerns in the matter so that they can deal with that when they have the minister before them.
Is the committee therefore happy to support what I think is Stuart's suggestion, which is that we report this to the lead committee, essentially asking them to see whether there are any time constraints when they consult with the minister?
This instrument be withdrawn to the lead committee.
I think that's our suggestion. If the government minister then can defend having to do it on a timetable, then perhaps he can also suggest a timetable to correct it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Are we content to leave that there? Yep. We are. Thank you very much. Okay. The council tax variation for unoccupied dwellings, Scotland Regulations 2013 draft. There is a drafting error in paragraph 29A of Schedule 1. It provides that a company is an associate company of another person if certain conditions are met, when the word person should clearly read company. Does the committee therefore agree to draw this instrument to the attention of the Parliament on the general reporting ground?
Agree.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, instruments subject to negative procedure. The Council Tax Administration and Enforcement Scotland Amendment Regulations 2012 SSI 2012 338. The form or meaning of the instrument could be clearer. This instrument amends Part 4 of the Council Tax Administration and Enforcement Scotland Regulations 1992 by substituting references to discount with references to variation. However, those provisions are intended to continue to apply to discounts under Section 79 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992, and it appears to be doubtful whether, in the context of that part, variation can properly extend to include discount, standing the drafting of Regulation 12, which makes specific reference to variation under Section 33 of the Local Government in Scotland Act 2003. Does the committee agree to draw the instrument to the attention of the Parliament on reporting ground H, as the meaning could be clearer? John.
Again, I'm sorry to be so grumpy about this, but it just seems to be yet another piece of poorly drafted legislation, and from my probably inadequate understanding of what is being suggested here is that we're essentially expecting local authorities to carry on doing what they've been doing because they've done it. But this piece of legislation will be absolutely no help to them in terms of enforcing what they are expected to do. In fact, it's inadequate in that regard. And therefore, I think it should be drawn to the lead committee's attention, and that, after all, is our purpose here, is to draw attention vociferously to inadequacies of drafting, and would like to do that.
I think the committee shares that view. Are we agreed? We are. Thank you very much indeed. The Children's Hearings Scotland Act 2011 Safeguarders Further Provision Regulations 2012 SSI 2012 336. No points have been raised on any reporting grounds. However, the committee may wish to consider writing to the Minister for Parliamentary Business, highlighting the following matters relating to the government undertaking given in Section 3 concerning the laying of packages of instruments, and seeking comments on how instrument planning could be improved so as to avoid any adverse effect on scrutiny. Both this instrument and SSI 2012-325, considered by the committee on the 18th of December, have raised some general issues as to the programming of subordinate legislation. better planning in the preparation of SSI 2012-325 could have avoided the need for a separate instrument and a potential anomaly of determining whether consequential provisions are satisfactory prior to approving the super-affirmative instruments to which they relate. Regulation 4.4 of these regulations refers to provisions in the Children's Hearing Scotland Act 2011, Implementation of Secure Accommodation Authorisation Scotland Regulations 2012, which have not yet been made. Without sight of this further instrument, the Parliament is not able to be wholly clear as to the application and effect of Regulation 4.4 in the period permitted for scrutiny of the current regulation. It would in this case have been preferable to have avoided making the cross-reference, since it appears that these regulations could have omitted Regulations 4.4 and 5, which could then have been added by amendment when the subsequent regulations are made. In the last session, the Minister for Parliamentary Business gave an undertaking to the committee regarding how packages of instruments would be handled. The Scottish Government undertook to try to avoid, whenever possible, staggering the laying of instruments that cross-refer to each other. The Government also undertook to provide the committee with a copy of a draft related instrument that are not ready for making, again, wherever possible, and this did not happen in this case. Does the committee therefore agree to write to the Minister for Parliamentary Business regarding this matter? Wonder if other members have any comments? Or content that I write to reinforce the view that we really do want to do this properly. No points have been raised by the legal advisers on the Council Tax Exempt Dwelling Scotland Amendment Order 2012 SSI 2012-339, nor on the M9 A90 M90 trunk route Humby Rail Bridge to M9 Junction 1A, variable speed limits and actively managed hard shoulder regulations 2012 SSI 2012-343, nor on the M9 A9 trunk road Newbridge to Winchborough variation speed limits and actively managed hard shoulder regulations 2012 SSI 2012-344, nor on the Local Government Pension Scheme Miscellaneous Amendments Scotland Regulations 2012 SSI 2012-347. Is the committee content with these instruments, please? We are, thank you. Which brings us to agenda item 4, the Energy Bill, which of course is UK Parliament legislation. Under this item, the committee is invited to consider the powers to make subordinate legislation conferred on Scottish ministers in the UK Energy Bill. A briefing paper has been provided that sets out the relevant aspects of the bill and comments on the effect. Does the committee, the committee is invited to find acceptable the powers in the bill and the procedure to which they are subject. Does the committee agree to report to the lead committee that is content with the delegated powers in the bill? Yeah, thank you very much. Agenda item 5, Freedom of Information Amendment Scotland Bill. This item of business is consideration of the delegated powers provisions in this bill after stage 2. Members will have noted that the Scottish Government has provided a supplementary delegated powers memorandum and will have seen the briefing paper. Stage 3 consideration of the bill is due to take place on Wednesday the 16th of January. The deadline for lodging amendments is 4:30 this Thursday the 10th. The committee may therefore wish to agree on its inclusions today. Does the committee agree to report that it is satisfied in principle with the alterations to the consultation requirements prior to the exercise of the powers under Section 5.1 of the Freedom of Information Scotland Act 2002 made by Section 1A of the bill? No. Does the committee agree to report that it is satisfied in principle with the power in Section 4 of the bill as amended at Stage 2? Finally, does the committee agree to report that it is satisfied that the amended power in Section 59 of the 2002 Act will continue to be subject to the affirmative procedure?
Okay.
Well, members are content. Thank you. That concludes item 5. That brings us to item 6, which we will take in private.